So let's get started with the cake slice box. Now this is an update in 2025 of this file. So if you previously purchased it, you need to download it from wherever you purchased it, re-download it. So we have all these pieces. What's been changed, just to let you know, is this is the original size and I made it 80% smaller. And there's a reason why I did it. I just feel it's too large, and I optimized some things. So in the original file, there was no support here. So when you closed it, it kind of collapsed, and I didn't like that. So this kind of gives it a little support. It's something that I had to figure out on a curve. But it does fit in there. Oops, right there. So it's not that I wanted to do this box. Remember when I originally made it, I wanted it to be different than other cake slice boxes. So this is what I came up with at the time. I mean, I thought about doing a whole brand new one, but I decided just to improve this one. So you can see you kind of have to tuck it in. Then one thing too, a lot of people always ask me, if you feel it's a little tight there, you can always trim it just a little bit. But a lot of people have asked me, how many of these, how big you'd use 8 of these if you wanted to make a full cake. So you could do, and it would be, I believe I calculated 8.8 inches for the current size. So that, again, this is 125% size, which was the original size, but now in 2025 it is 80% smaller, which I think I like way better, to tell you the truth. So I was playing around with, just to give you an idea, this is 70%. So isn't this cute? So isn't that fun? You can actually make it for any occasion. So I made this little pumpkin one, which I'm going to share. But I was trying to play around with size, and I decided that 80% was better than 70. 70 is still good, though. So you could still make it smaller. So this will be smaller than the final size, and I'll show you all of them at the end. To start, we're going to go ahead and piece together some items like these panels. And you'll see that I embossed these solid panels. So this would be the cake part. A couple other things too is that there is a piece in the extra stuff folder. There's I think there's, I'm trying to think if it's 1 or 2. Oh, there's 2 things in the extra stuff folder. There's a piece that can go on the back edge. So this will be the back edge. And what I mean by that is this right here. Let me show you. This panel is not in the regular file because this is usually the color of the box, but because this was a different color and I wanted this just to be the solid color of the orange frosting, I had this panel in the extra stuff folder, which is the same exact size as this back part. This is just an inset, this panel like that. Okay, and the other thing is for the original candle. The original candle didn't have any panels, but this one goes around it. But there are individual ones if for some reason you want to have individual ones, which I was going with. And I decided on this. It's just easier to put that around. These are the individual ones right there. But I figured if you wanted like a slice like that, that it would be better as one piece, and then when you wrap it around, it'll look seamless. So that's that. So let's go ahead and start piecing these. So before we do the candle, I'm gonna go ahead and we'll do the candle first. I'm gonna ink these a little bit. So we'll get this out of our way. So just have a scratch piece of paper to ink on. Just move that up. I'm just going to use spiced marmalade on this. And I'm just going to use my little finger brushes to get a little bit more of a look. So they're going to go back to back. We're going to glue them back to back like that. So you only have to ink this one side. So I have a textured cardstock. So I'm just placing it on the textured cardstock just to get it a little orange to give it a little bit more interest color-wise. However you want to. I mean, if you theoretically you would put the darker part down here. So I also inked the edges of this with Distress Oxide. Just the edges. But that's the way I did it. Let's go ahead and put those aside. I am using Barely Art glue today. So these are going to fold like that. So again, this is an older design that I just revamped a little bit. It always bothered me not having the support part. I did my best to make it happen. That's probably why most people just put lids, or that would be the easy way, but I was trying to be different. There's a different way to make, there's easier ways to make the box that I was trying to make. So we didn't put glue on these two tabs. It wasn't very, right there. So those will be ready to go in this little slot here. So now let's go ahead and glue this. So you want to get these nice and folded. And this will help when you put that panel on. Because I'm not a fan. These are going to go fold backwards too, by the way. So you want to kind of train them to go backwards. And that's how they'll glue to the box. I'm not a fan of these kind of panels because it's harder as a designer to get it around. It actually has to be slightly larger just to get it around based on like paper thickness and everything. So, but it only took about 4 tries to get the size right for me. Hopefully it works for everybody. And I also inked the edges of this panel too. So I'm going to add glue to this tab right there. You can see right there. And then you can just fold it flat to glue it together. So make sure you use the table on this one. We'll put the panel on last. So this is a little tricky, but it's not that bad. We're going to push those down. Kind of pull this out a little bit to help us put the flame on. So I'm just going to slide it through. So if you do size this a little bit smaller or larger, you may have to adjust the size of this opening here because that will resize it proportionally. So I'm going to fold it back one side. And then the other side. And it pulled it down so you can get your fingers underneath it to hold the tabs. So this part's a little bit tricky. So you might want to have something like a, that's not this one. I'm trying to find my chopstick, wooden chopstick. I like that size. You want to add glue to these. You don't want to push them in too far because we need it to grab. So when we put this down, it's going to be hard to apply pressure. So what we're going to do before we do it, we're going to put it like this. See how it's all folded out, these tabs? And when we add glue, we're going to put it down there and just line it up like that. So you can see that on the top. So let's go ahead and add the glue to these tabs. So fold these out so you can get it down flat. It'll help. You're just going to line it up. Just fold it over and line it up. So you want to get these edges lined up. So you might need to like use your fingers to get it in place. And then you just want to apply pressure on top because it's such a small thing and it's hard to get inside. We can't flip it upside down because of the flame. But once we can get it rubbed on in place, you could go in here and just apply pressure on the tabs, but you got to be careful. See, I pushed a little bit and it pulled it up. So be patient with this one and spend the time to hold it until it's set in place. because being patient until the glue dried. So you just need to make sure you're patient. And then if you wanted to, you could always, I put white in the file, but I was matching this up to the color of the fall version I did. But I originally envisioned it as a kind of a birthday thing, but I think this fall thing's kind of fun, the fall theme, since I'm putting this out in fall. So now we can go ahead. I'm going to start, you can see it's going to go around like that. Okay. So you want to line it up to the top. You make sure that it doesn't go over this little line, these folds here. It's actually slightly smaller than this, very slight, to give you a little wiggle room. So I'm going to see how I kind of indented it there because I wasn't really lined up, but you can't, not going to tell. So this is where the end of it was before. So I'm going to kind of start over here and add glue. I'm going to do 2 of the panels. So we're going to start in the middle somewhere. So just choose one of the ones in the middle. These little sections. Start there. Line it up to the top. And I only have glue on these 2 edges, so you kind of can reach in with your finger. I have a very short fingers, but if you needed to, you could use something that, like a chopstick as the pressure behind. Just rubbing it usually does it. So I had to glue to those, so we're just going to add glue to the rest of them and wrap it around. So if you're using a thicker cardstock, it may not wrap around as well, but I tested both and they seem to be okay. So you just want to go as tight as possible without squishing it, of course. So I'm just going to keep on wrapping it around there, and then the same thing here. Wrap it around. Then I'm going to apply pressure on the last ones first. Like the last ones I pressed down. I could just go around and rub the rest on. So this is the simple way. Of course, we have individual panels if you'd like to use those, and if you're going to use the individual ones, you can put them on before you even put it together. And if you want to, you can kind of ink it. I have a, let me just use some this. So it's up to you how you feel you want it to look. I used a coordinating paper set from, I believe it was from Echo Park. So now we can go ahead and set that aside and go on to these panels. So let's do this one first. You have 2 little pieces. It'll go like this, and this will line up with that little notch right there. I'm just going to add glue lightly to this. And because I embossed it, so I embossed it with the embossing folder first, with kind of a, I don't know, like a, it's kind of a floral pattern, but not, more like leaves. And then we're just going to line up. I'm going to go sideways so I can see it better. This should line up with the edge of that. And you can see better if you flip it over. Right. Make sure if you do emboss it that you have the embossed side that you want up. Make sure there's not glue on your fingertips like I just did. And then we'll line up this one. So the same thing, we'll line the other one up. This one's just a little bit more finicky. You got to be really careful not to place it until you get it in place. So it would start at this edge. Oops, don't put anything down yet. Line it up. So this one, another reason I did this, redid this file was so I could get a video out there. So I'll put this next one on, and then we'll go on to start assembling it. So the things we want to get this piece out next. Make sure you fold it like that. And the other thing I did was I added glue to this tab. It was unfolded and folded it over. I just had a little technical issue with my video when I started. So we have that folded over. So basically you're just going to add glue to this tab, fold it over. And make sure it's folded because it'll help for the next step. The thing we want to differentiate before we move forward, there's these two pieces right here that look similar, but one has rounded edges and is smaller. So if you look, it's smaller. This we want to put aside. That'll be for the inside of the top piece to hide these little tabs when we attach that. So let's put the one with rounded aside. We also don't need this and this right this moment, but we'll need this, these two, and this eventually. So let's go ahead. So just remember the one with the sharp points, the edges right here, it's going to be for the bottom to hide the tabs. So because I had a little bit of an issue, there's a little glue already on this, but once you get it folded and that tab folded over there next to the notch, we're going to add glue to this. You want to make sure that you line up this hexagon like this, line it up to that opening. So I'm kind of making sure it has an edge too. So the way you can do that is kind of look in here, just adjust it a little bit if you can see the paper. Fortunately, I've made it so it's kind of rotated on me a little bit. So let's make sure I get it. I made it so, forgot what I was going to say. I hate that. Well, I made the candle a little bit smaller, so if you did overlap a little bit, that would compensate for it a little bit. So next thing, while we're flat, we're just going to take advantage of it being flat. So we want the, right here, towards the point, that's where you want the opening. So the back, which is the slot part, is going to go like this, then it's going to go like this. So we're going to put those two on. Oops. Always drop my glue at least once in a video. Always. Well, actually, every once in a while I get away with not dropping it. So this is where pre-folding kind of helps, because you want to, you probably can't see it, but if you see the edges right there, you can line it up. Line it up to this edge. It's just easier to get it on before you assemble it. I didn't change the essence of how this is assembled for those that are wondering. I just now have a video and fine-tune some of the tabs and just refresh the file. Going to go ahead and line this up. So you're lining up to the edge and to the little notch. If you do all this first, it'll become much easier to put together. Let's get this out of my way. My example. So upside down, the reason I do a lot upside down is so if I have anything on my fingers, I'm not getting it messy. And then usually I get a little dry glue on here, so you can see it's going to come together like this. I'm going to glue that on the inside. If you wanted to glue it on the outside, you have to put that on last. So let's go ahead and just make sure I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Let's go ahead and do that. But you can glue it on the outside, but you just can't. You have to wait to put this panel on after, if that's what you do. We're gonna line it up. I'm just gonna put it on the table and apply pressure inside. So I'm gonna get this little right here. You kind of can push it down. Something like this would help too, just to get pressure. You don't want it coming apart at that edge. So make sure that's good and secure and glued on before you go on to the next step. So this is why we pre-folded everything. So now let's go ahead and take this piece right here. And you just want to curve it with your hands a little bit. And I'll explain it before you put it on. I don't want to put the panel on yet because of the curve. I don't want it to hinder us putting it on. So I'm going to fold those, and then we can go ahead and fold these as well. And you might want to fold these. But after you kind of curl it a little bit. And that's just going to help us guide it to put it on. So that's going to be this rounded edge over here. But what you want to pay attention to is these little rounded ones need to be on the top. Like that. Okay? And these are going to be glued on the bottom. So the long ones go on the bottom. So let's go ahead and add glue. Make sure you start on this side, right here. And you're going to attach it right there. So remember, these long tabs are on the bottom. I'd rather just keep on saying the same thing over and over again, just in case. So you could have done this before gluing that front piece too. That's up to you. When I do it, it's just kind of suggested. Some things have to be done first, obviously. I'm just lining it up here. So I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold, getting as close as possible without going over the fold. So you see there's the fold, so you can kind of push it down while you're doing it. So these are now going to glue down there. So you can do them all at once or just part of them. That's up to you. I'm just going to do just a little bit so you can get an idea if you're new. So I'll do like 5 of them. It's going to be easier if I just push them all in, even for 5. So we're going to go ahead and just open that up so it can get in. If you can see, let me get an angle that you can see. These are just going to slide under like that. And I'll show you in a minute. So you're going to start from this edge right here, push in, and then apply pressure down, but start on the first tab and then go to the left. You can see. And that's what it looks like on the bottom right there. So I only did 5. I'm going to make sure they're all attached. And then you can go ahead and flip the rest of them up, or you can do them all at once. That's up to you. So I'm going to add glue to the rest of these. And if you do like this project, I ask if you can give me a little like or thumbs up on the video, and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. So you'll be notified if we have new videos that kind of thing. New products, new things that come out. So we're going to go and flip those in. And so I'm trying to keep an angle. So you're going to start where you ended, and then it's the same thing. I'm going to push them under so that inside edge right there is lining up to the tab folds. And then I'm just going to flip that in. Whoops, should flip that in first, that little tab at the end. You can always kind of bend it back and flip it in if you already glued it. Just carefully so you don't rip anything. So I just continued going that way, applying pressure. And then we can carefully reach in, add glue on this last tab. So this goes much faster. Once you do a couple of them, it goes much faster. It's just a matter of, you could hold off and put the panels on last if you don't want to mess with those or even think about getting glue on them. So I'm just lining it up, and I can kind of feel with my finger that this edge is lined up to the tab, and then reaching in. And you can flip it on its side and apply more pressure. We could have done that on the other side too. And it really is almost done. It's just a couple finishing pieces here. So if you did a two-tone box or something like that, you remember we have that optional file in, I'm going to add a little more glue, the optional file in the extra stuff folder that you can use on this whole back. So just, if there's an extra stuff folder, always kind of take a look of it. Once you unzip the file, there's SVG files folder, and then within that usually there's complete files, extra stuff folder, that kind of thing. So this piece is going to go right here, kind of just as a support. Let me show you up right here. I'm putting the texture side up. But before we do that, let's get this on. So we're going to go ahead and curl this. Then we'll add it to the back here, center it. The top won't be seen, so you could, it's up to you whether you want to put it down further. I put it a little bit closer to the bottom with the little edge. I tried to center it on the back there. Didn't center, quite center here. Let's try that again. And then once you get that in place, we can go ahead and curl this a little bit. This is the frosting that's coming off the top like that. We're also going to put the bottom panel on in a minute here. This goes all the way from one side to the other. So you might want to place it and then center it. So there's that. And then before we put this on, let's go ahead and put that bottom panel on. So I didn't really line it up. So if you don't line it up exactly where it needs to go, especially when I'm in a video, I can't really see the project the way that I see it, like if I'm just doing it. That's not an excuse, it's actually a reality. So you could put a little ink there. Anyways, try to line it up to the edge of this. I just had a little skewed. can see. You can't really tell. Then we'll go ahead and add this glue to the bottom to add the tab to cover these tabs. Just a fun little birthday gift you can do. And you probably can notice now why I made it smaller. I like the size way better. So just line that up. Be careful of the lid and all that. So, but once you get it on, you can reach in and apply pressure, or you can use something like this to apply pressure. I prefer my fingers, so I'll go in the bigger areas with my fingers. But I'm careful around the point area. Okay, let's go ahead and just add the candle before we do this, because I just don't want to push it to break it or anything. So you're going to go ahead and add the candle. So here's the decision you have. When you put this in, you have to decide where you want the candle. So if you wanted it facing forward, you do it that way. So pay attention to where this is. If you want it to be visible from the side, you could rotate it. But you see that's kind of not. So I'll probably put it like this. The first one I did a little bit cattywampus. But like that. So you see the difference? Just pay attention to that flame. I said frame. So once you have all these in, let's go ahead and anchor. Be careful of your flame. Just take one tab and fold it back to get it anchored like that. Then we'll take the second one just right across from it. I like to do that because it helps center it and get the rest of them easy, but need to push it in just a little bit to get it on the fold so it's folding in the right place. So just pushing it in. Again, this is slightly smaller than the opening, so it should go in. So you shouldn't have trouble. Started doing that because sometimes 3D things like this get squished when you throw them through, even at the right size. So I'm just folding them all back. And make sure there's no glue on your top finger. Go ahead and just remember to push it through a little bit so you can get it, make sure that you're folding this on the actual fold, the tab fold. Just keep those top fingers of glue. I'm just gonna, I have a little damp cloth to make sure that I don't have any more here. And we're almost done. So now we can go ahead and cover this with that rounded version. So that's going to go like that, so you can't see it. So I'll add that. This panel is slightly smaller than the top, so you want to make sure it doesn't hinder the fold. So just place it. It's purely to hide that. So you don't want it to jut out here. Like I said, this is smaller than the top, but very slightly. So the last thing we need to do is add this. So make sure you have the texture side up. We're just going to add glue to a couple of these tabs first. Let's do 3 of them. Probably should have started from the left, but it shouldn't make a difference. It'll just be harder to reach in. So we want to make sure this edge is on lining up with the edge of this right here. Right there. So this lines up right there. it purely is, this is the thing that always bothered me about this box. It purely is only for support. So when you have a box that opens like this, you should have usually flaps, right? But because this never had flaps, the original design, it would just kind of sink right here, and we don't want that to happen on a box. So now I'm going to just carefully lift up and add glue to the rest of them. And you could do them all at once if you wanted to. I just wanted to show you where to line it up. I'm going to do all the rest of them. And I made it small because it's not a flap, so you can't really open it. So I still want things to be, you'd be able to hold something in here. So I'm going to hold it like this. We're going to go start here. You can use your finger, line it up, and just keep on gluing the tabs underneath until you get to the other side. There you go. Just kind of finesse it a little bit. So it is kind of like a tab, but it's not a tab. I'm calling it a support. But before you do anything with it, you want to make sure everything's glued properly. So I'm just inking the edge here just to hide any imperfection. You see how that just kind of, this is just going to give me a little bit of support there. So here's the finished box. So if you can see, I put a gift card in there. So if you put it kind of at an angle, it'll fit. I wanted it big enough to fit a gift card. So it wouldn't fit up straight against the side, but it would angle in, and you could put a little gift in there. And then you just want to carefully close it right there. If it's a little bit tight, you can always do a little trimming. I don't want to trim much because if you used a thinner paper, it might not hold as well if I trimmed it. So what I would say is you could always take a scissor and kind of trim it there, which I did with the thicker paper. But you want it to close. So the way you want to do it, make sure pull it back, fold it in, and then unfold it and slide it in. So that's it. So for comparison, this is the new size. You can see how big it is. This is the original size when I designed it, I think in 2017. But this is closest to the new updated design. I wanted to show you because I think you can see how much bigger it is. I think this is better for most crafters. First of all, less paper, and also you can make more of them with less paper, which I like. And you can always make it bigger if you wanted to. So that's the thing. And let me just show you the original, just so you understand what changed. Of course, some of the sizing changed, but in the original, this was like this. So when you closed it, it could go like that. So I fixed that. That's been bugging me for years. Although it was a usable box still, and you could just carefully put it in there like that, I didn't like the fact that it could just fall down. So, but the looks are fun. See all the different looks you can get? So here's the new one. The old one, but essentially the same, and just a little bit of sizing difference. So the different looks you can get with the different paper is kind of cool. So I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching.